People don't come back because they are confused. They come back because something inside them wakes up when silence replaces noise. Most people believe attachment grows when you chase harder, explain more, give more, and stay available no matter what. That belief is exactly why desire dies quietly. Attraction doesn't disappear overnight. It fades when presence loses value, when attention becomes predictable, when emotional availability is handed over without resistance. Pulling away doesn't mean disappearing out of ego. It means removing excess. It means creating space where reflection can finally breathe. And when space appears, the mind does something dangerous. It fills the silence with memory. The first reason she comes back is psychological contrast. When you are always there, your presence becomes background noise. The nervous system adapts, but when consistency is interrupted, the brain reevaluates value. Absence doesn't create love, but it exposes attachment. The moment availability is no longer guaranteed, emotional investment becomes visible. What felt optional suddenly feels uncertain, and uncertainty triggers attention. The second reason is emotional regulation. When you pull away calmly, without anger, without explanation, without drama, something subtle happens. The emotional balance shifts. You are no longer reacting, you are responding. That creates polarity. Emotional maturity creates safety, and safety is attractive even when it is uncomfortable. Silence delivered with self-control communicates strength louder than words ever could. The third reason is loss of validation. Many connections survive on reassurance, not intimacy. Compliments, replies, emotional availability, these become emotional currency. When that currency stops flowing freely, the nervous system panics, not because of love, but because validation has been interrupted. And people often confuse missing validation with missing a person. That confusion pulls them back. The fourth reason is unresolved emotional loops. Closure is a myth when emotions were intense. When conversations stop mid-emotion, the brain keeps replaying unfinished moments. When you pull away without emotional collapse, the mind fills the silence with questions. Questions lead to curiosity. Curiosity leads to reconnection. Not because of strategy, but because humans hate unfinished emotional stories. The fifth reason is regained self-respect. Over-availability slowly erodes perceived value. Pulling away restores boundaries. Boundaries create dignity, and dignity creates attraction. When someone chooses distance instead of begging for clarity, it signals self-worth. Self-worth is magnetic. It silently communicates, I am not afraid of losing what disrespects me. The sixth reason is the reactivation of desire through uncertainty. Desire thrives in mystery, not reassurance. When you pull away, predictability breaks. The mind begins imagining rather than receiving. Imagination intensifies emotion more than reality ever could. What was once familiar becomes intriguing again. And intrigue pulls people back far more powerfully than logic. The seventh reason is emotional mirroring. When someone stops chasing, it forces the other to feel what was previously being absorbed for them. Emotional labor shifts. Suddenly the weight of effort becomes visible. The absence of effort creates awareness of imbalance. Awareness often triggers correction, not consciously, but emotionally. The eighth reason is identity reflection. When someone pulls away, it forces the other person to ask a dangerous question. Why didn't this person fight to stay? That question challenges ego. It forces introspection. It shakes assumptions. And when ego feels threatened, reconnection often becomes a way to restore self-image rather than relationship health. The ninth reason is emotional safety paradox. People are drawn to those who can walk away without hostility. It signals emotional strength. Strength creates safety, and safety allows vulnerability to surface later. Pulling away isn't abandonment, It's emotional containment. And emotional containment makes people feel seen, even in silence. This is where most people get it wrong. They pull away with bitterness, with manipulation, with silent punishment. That never works long term. The power is not in disappearing. The power is in detachment without resentment, distance without bitterness, silence without hostility. Because when you pull away correctly, you are not trying to trigger fear. You are restoring balance. You are not trying to win. You are choosing peace. And peace is far more attractive than desperation disguised as loyalty. People don't return because they were chased. They return because they finally felt the weight of what was removed. And the truth most people avoid is this: if pulling away makes someone disappear forever, then staying would have only delayed the ending, not changed it. Attraction doesn't survive force, it survives self-respect. When presence is given freely, it is consumed carelessly. When presence is chosen selectively, it is felt deeply. That is why silence, when paired with dignity, becomes louder than any explanation. Most people never realize this part, and this is where the real shift happens. When you pull away without explaining yourself, you stop negotiating your worth, and negotiation kills attraction faster than rejection ever could. Explaining why you deserve consistency teaches the other person that consistency is optional. Silence, on the other hand, removes negotiation entirely. It says nothing, yet communicates everything. There is a deep biological response tied to this. The nervous system is wired to notice change, not stability. When patterns break, the brain enters alert mode. Emotional memory becomes sharper. Moments replay with more intensity. Tone, laughter, shared vulnerability, things once overlooked suddenly feel heavier. Distance doesn't erase connection, it magnifies it. Another layer people don't talk about is emotional positioning. When you pull away, you step out of the role of emotional supplier. You stop regulating someone else's feelings. That creates emotional accountability. The moment emotional regulation is removed, the other person must either self-regulate or reconnect. Many choose reconnection because it's easier than facing emotional discomfort alone. Pulling away also removes performance pressure. When someone feels chased, they feel evaluated. When they feel evaluated, they resist. Distance removes that pressure. It allows desire to return naturally without obligation. Desire born from obligation is fragile. Desire born from choice is resilient. There's also the issue of emotional hierarchy. Chasing places the other person emotionally above you. Pulling away equalizes the dynamic. Equality is not exciting, but imbalance in favor of self-respect is. When someone realizes they are no longer being centered emotionally, curiosity replaces comfort, and curiosity is the gateway back. Silence also exposes intention. When you stop initiating, reality surfaces. Effort becomes visible. Interest becomes measurable. And when someone notices that effort is no longer being compensated for by availability, they often step forward, not because they suddenly changed, but because the environment changed. What most people misunderstand is timing. Pulling away too late feels reactive. Pulling away too early feels cold. But pulling away at the moment self-respect is challenged feels grounded. It feels controlled. It feels intentional. And intention is deeply attractive because it signals emotional intelligence. There is also a subconscious test happening. When you pull away calmly, the other person wonders whether you are capable of leaving permanently. That possibility changes behavior more than threats ever could. People don't respond to ultimatums. They respond to consequences they believe are real. Distance also removes emotional noise. Without constant messaging, emotional clarity increases. The other person can finally differentiate between comfort and connection. Comfort fades quickly when not fed. Connection lingers. And lingering emotions are what bring people back, not convenience. Another uncomfortable truth is this: many people don't realize the value of something until they experience life without it. Not because they are cruel, but because familiarity numbs appreciation. Pulling away restores contrast, and contrast restores value. When silence is handled with grace, it becomes emotionally disarming. There's no argument to fight, no explanation to debate, no emotion to manipulate, just space, and space forces honesty. Pulling away also stops emotional overexposure. Oversharing creates emotional saturation. When emotions are constantly expressed, they lose impact. Distance condenses emotion. Condensed emotion feels heavier, deeper, and harder to ignore. There's also the identity factor. When someone gets used to being emotionally centered in your world, losing that position challenges their self-perception. Reaching out becomes a way to re-anchor their identity, not just the relationship. This is why reconnections often begin casually, as if nothing happened. It's an attempt to reclaim emotional familiarity. And then there's the quiet confidence effect. Pulling away without bitterness communicates that your life continues. Energy shifts, focus shifts. That shift is felt even without words. Emotional independence is attractive because it removes pressure. Pressure suffocates desire, freedom feeds it. Silence also creates emotional curiosity. The mind hates unanswered questions. When you stop explaining, the brain starts filling gaps. Assumptions are made. Often those assumptions favor mystery over reality, and mystery is far more powerful than reassurance. Another reason reconnection happens is guilt awareness. Not forced guilt, but natural reflection. Distance allows space for perspective. When emotions settle, behavior is re-evaluated. People don't change in the heat of emotion, they change in quiet moments of self-awareness. Pulling away also ends emotional bargaining. Bargaining keeps you trapped in cycles of hope and disappointment. Distance breaks the cycle. And when cycles break, clarity arrives, either reconnection or release. Both are victories when handled with dignity. There's a subtle but important difference between absence and withdrawal. Absence feels empty, withdrawal feels intentional. Intentional withdrawal communicates choice, not loss, and choice is respected more than availability. When someone returns after you pull away, it's often not with clarity, but with curiosity. That curiosity is fragile. It requires emotional steadiness, not validation seeking. This is where many people sabotage the moment by over-explaining, over-asking, over-giving. The power was never in pulling away, it was in staying centered afterward. Distance also filters intentions. Those who return only for comfort reveal themselves quickly. Those who return with accountability behave differently. Pulling away doesn't guarantee commitment. It reveals truth. And truth, even when painful, is better than prolonged confusion. Most people are afraid to pull away because they associate distance with loss. But distance doesn't create loss. It exposes it. If connection collapses under space, it was never stable to begin with. Pulling away isn't a tactic, it's a response to misalignment. When alignment returns, connection feels lighter, not forced. When it doesn't, peace replaces anxiety, and peace is the ultimate form of emotional power. Let me know when you want. There is another layer that most people never notice until they experience it themselves. When you pull away, you interrupt emotional dependency. Dependency often disguises itself as connection, but they are not the same thing. Dependency needs constant reassurance. Connection survives silence. When reassurance disappears, whatever was real remains, and whatever was dependency starts to panic. That panic is often mistaken for longing, and longing is what brings people back. Silence also reveals emotional discipline. Anyone can speak when emotions are high. Very few can stay composed when attachment is triggered. Emotional discipline signals inner stability, and stability feels rare in a world driven by impulse and reaction. That rarity draws attention back. Another reason distance works is because it returns agency. When someone feels chased, they feel powerful. When they feel free to choose, they feel curious. Pulling away hands the choice back without resentment. Choice creates responsibility. Responsibility changes behavior. There is also a subtle shift in perception. When you stop explaining your emotions, you stop positioning yourself as fragile. Fragility invites control. Strength invites respect. Respect is the foundation attraction sits on, not intensity. People often ask why pulling away feels so hard even when it works. The reason is simple. It forces you to sit with uncertainty. Uncertainty is uncomfortable, but discomfort is where emotional growth happens. Most people avoid it, which is why they chase clarity instead of becoming grounded. Distance also exposes emotional asymmetry. When effort drops, imbalance becomes obvious, and when imbalance is obvious, it can no longer be ignored. Some people return to restore balance, others leave. Both outcomes provide clarity that chasing never could. Another psychological effect is emotional recalibration. When constant communication stops, emotional intensity resets. Conversations that once felt routine regain weight. Messages feel intentional again. Presence feels earned rather than expected. Pulling away also prevents emotional burnout. Overgiving drains attraction because exhaustion dulls energy. Distance restores emotional charge. When energy returns, connection feels lighter, not forced. There's also the illusion of control that gets broken. When someone believes you will always be there, behavior becomes careless. Pulling away disrupts that assumption, and when assumptions break, effort often follows. Silence has a way of amplifying authenticity. Without constant reassurance, people reveal who they are through action rather than words. Action is the only reliable indicator of intention. Distance forces action to surface. Another reason reconnection happens is memory refinement. The brain edits memories when stimuli stop. Negative moments fade faster than emotional highs. Distance allows selective recall, and selective recall fuels longing. Pulling away also shifts the emotional narrative. Instead of being the one asking for clarity, you become the one being wondered about. Curiosity reverses emotional roles without confrontation. There is also a dignity factor that cannot be ignored. When someone sees that you can walk away without collapsing, it reframes your emotional value. Emotional independence is quietly intimidating and deeply attractive. People rarely miss what they can access anytime. Scarcity sharpens focus. Emotional scarcity, when natural and not manipulative, restores appreciation. Distance also forces self-reflection. Without constant interaction, people face their own emotions instead of projecting them. Self-reflection often leads back to the source of comfort, especially when comfort was mistaken for emotional safety. Another uncomfortable truth is this: some people only realize they care when they feel replaced, not by another person, but by peace. When you pull away and remain calm, it signals that your happiness does not depend on them. That realization often triggers reconnection attempts. Pulling away also removes emotional bargaining chips. No ultimatums, no conditions, just absence. Absence doesn't argue, it reveals. There's a difference between someone missing you and someone missing how you made them feel. Distance exposes which one it is, and that distinction determines whether reconnection has substance or not. Silence also tests emotional maturity. Those who return with accountability show growth. Those who return with confusion show attachment. Pulling away helps you see the difference without asking. Most people fear that pulling away means giving up. In reality, it means choosing alignment over attachment. Attachment clings, alignment flows. Distance also recalibrates self-perception. When you stop chasing, you stop shrinking. Self-respect expands. An expanded self-respect changes how others interact with you. Another reason people come back is emotional gravity. When your energy becomes grounded and contained, it pulls rather than pushes. Pushing creates resistance. Pulling creates movement. Silence is not empty. It is structured. It has boundaries. And boundaries create safety even when they feel uncomfortable at first. Pulling away also ends emotional overinvestment. Overinvestment creates pressure. Pressure kills attraction. Distance releases pressure. People often reconnect not because they plan to, but because emotional space forced clarity. And clarity often leads back to what felt stable, calm, and grounding. Pulling away is not about making someone miss you. It's about restoring emotional truth. And emotional truth has a way of attracting honesty back into your life. People don't return because silence is loud. They return because dignity is rare. Pulling away is not about strategy, it is about alignment. The moment you stop chasing what doesn't choose you freely, you reclaim your emotional center. And when you are centered, everything changes. Not just how others respond to you, but how you see yourself. If someone comes back, let it be because they felt the absence of your energy, not because they feared losing control over it. Let it be because they recognized your value, not because you made yourself smaller to be noticed. And if someone doesn't come back, understand this. Distance didn't push them away. It simply removed the illusion that they were ever fully present. The strongest position is never forcing connection. It is standing firm in self-respect and allowing truth to reveal itself. Because real attraction doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to clarity. And clarity begins the moment you choose peace over pursuit.